Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Hey guys, alright, Miss Amanda here. Let's get started. So first thing you're going to grab is your mason jar. You'll notice that it's plastic, so you don't have to worry about dropping it. It will not break on you, I promise. Next thing you're going to grab in your back is your paint. Please note this is acrylic paint. If you get it on your clothes, it will stain, so please be very careful using it. It will come off your hands though. Don't worry about that. Alright, next thing you're going to grab is your gauze. You're just going to unravel it. You probably won't need the whole thing, and to be honest, there's enough supplies in here to do 2 mason jars if you have an extra one at home. And of course you have your eyes. You can pick which one you want to do later. So first things first, you're going to grab your paintbrush. You can use a foam paintbrush or a regular paintbrush, whatever you got. You don't have to wet it or anything beforehand. I actually recommend not doing that because it'll thin out the paint. Oh, and make sure you have your glue or Mod Podge on hand as well for later. Alright, let's get started. So first things first, we're just going to take our black paint. You'll notice it is very thick acrylic paint. Just stick your hand in there. It's probably the easiest way. And just get to work. Now 1 coat should be enough. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to be wrapping this in gauze, so any imperfections in the paint are going to be covered. I'm just going to speed through this because it does take a little bit of time. Now, what's really cool about this paint is that it dries down to a matte black, so you'll be able to tell really easily once it's dry. And the awesome thing about acrylic paint is that if you notice something isn't right or if you missed a spot, you can always go back in and add another layer to it. Just keep in mind that each layer that you add to your mummy's base is going to take at least 30 minutes to dry, depending on how much paint you put on there. Now, the one thing also to remember is that if you want to continue using the lid for the jar, please do not paint over the screw top where the lid goes, or else it's just going to make a really big mess every time you take that lid on and off. Alright, we're just going to leave this here to dry for about 30 minutes. Okay, and we're back, and as you can see, it dries down to this super nice, almost chalkboardy-like finish. And you'll see I had one really shiny spot, so that was a wet spot that I still have, but that's okay. And now we're just going to wrap our mummy. Put that back down, quickly wipe the black paint off my finger. We're going to grab your gauze. Now your gauze might be a little bit thinner than mine. This was kind of my test run, and I realized it was a little wide, but that's totally okay if it's wide. It just means that more of the mummy is going to get covered. Now, there we go. I'm going to use my glue to hold it in place while I get this untangled. Alright, and here we go. So I'm going to start at the top of my mummy and just kind of wrap my way around. There's no real right or wrong way to do this. You can cover as much or as little of your mummy as you want. Now keep in mind there's way more gauze here than you need to cover your mummy. You can use the entire thing and really make it thick, or you can do what I did and just cut part of it off. Again, if you have an extra mason jar hanging around somewhere, you pretty much have all you need to make a second one as well. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the ends and we're just going to glue them down. Now I'm going to take my liquid glue. I decided to use the white one instead of the clear one that I had, just because I can see it a little easier and you guys can see it on camera. And you're just going to push it into that gauze. Make sure you stretch it out real thin in order to do this, okay? So you're going to press it in. Remember, even though it's going on thick, it's going to dry clear. You really want it to be able to secure itself to the jar and not run away from you. And you can do this in all over your jar if you want to really secure that gauze on there, but it's really only necessary to do it on the top piece and on the bottom. Okay, so we got our top piece done. I'm going to find the end of my gauze. Ah, there it is. Alright, we're going to pull it tighter so it's really thin and move some gauze around. Now remember, once your glue is dry, you are free to move your gauze however you like. I'm going to take up more glue. I'm just going to pat that in there. Now I found it a lot easier just to put it straight from the bottle onto the thing. But if you're using something like Mod Podge instead, you can always just dip your finger in and dip it after. You can also use a foam brush or a paintbrush for this step. I just found that my fingers gave me a lot more control. And I'm just going to go all around the bottom rim because I decided to stretch my gauze all the way under there, and I just want to make sure it's really secure on the bottom because that's probably where it's going to get the most wear and tear. Now when it comes to customizing what your mummy looks like, you can always pull the stray strings, you can make it thinner in spots, you can overlap it, you can move everything around. Once that glue is dry, the rest of it's pretty malleable to what you want to do. As you can see, I put a little bit where it overlaps with the other gauze just to try and keep the bottom in place. Then you're going to pick the front of your mummy, and I'm going to very quickly wipe my hands free of this glue, and you're going to pick out which eyes you want. Now I decided to go with these. These are my favorite. We're going to skip through me fighting with them. Could not get the backing off of that, but we're just going to stick it on right like that. These shouldn't need extra glue, but in case you find that they do, not a problem, just add some glue right underneath it. And with some final zhuzhing of the gauze, exposing some more of that black under there, we are all set to go. Actually, I'm going to pull some string, get this looking really ratty like a mummy. And there we have it. We have our mummy mason jar. Now you can use this for markers, you can use this for pretty much anything you can think of. You can even use it to hide candy from your siblings. Trust me, it works on parents too. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!